Welcome to another episode of Nasdaq100 weekly highs, weekly lows, technical analysis. We're going to be picking up from where we left off last week in regards to the technicals that I did on that week. So make sure, obviously, you stay through and watch all the way through to the end, because I believe you're going to find the content you're going to find today will be super useful. Okay, so with all of that covered, we're going to get straight into it. Oh, just one more thing I need to add as well, right? Make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification, and drop us a like, right? Especially if you find the content useful, because that's what I aim to do. I aim to provide you guys with solid content that you can use in your day-to-day as you navigate the market. And in saying that, it's also important that I say this: I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice. This is purely my opinion of where I think market is going to go and how I think market is going to behave, right? It is upon you to do the work and the research to make sure that everything that you're watching makes absolute sense before you commit your hard-earned capital to any trades. All right. Okay, so with all of that covered, we're going to get straight into it. Just a brief recap, right? So last week we used the weekly highs and weekly lows of this section over here to try to determine what was going to take place in this area over here, right? And there was a couple things that I said, because what is super important, especially with the videos, how I release them, right, is I don't go back and remove videos, especially if I say make an error in the videos that I put out previously, because you only learn from your mistakes. And like I say, there is enough people deceiving people on the internet in regards to the market, and I am 100% not trying to be one of them. So everything you see is what it is. I said it. If it didn't pan out, it didn't pan out, but I stand by that based on what I was looking at when I was looking at it, right? So what were one of the errors that you could say was the error that I made last week? Okay, that was in my assessment of the sales in this area over here, the FVG, right? Because market the previous week, so when we was analyzing this week, well, when we was using this week to analyze this week as to what we needed to do, right? One of the key points that I mentioned was the weekly low over here had been taken out, and there was a high probability that if you were selling the market and you sold anywhere below this level, you're basically holding the bag, and this is the absolute level where you need to have your stop loss to consider jumping out of the market, right? So I said something along those lines, right? And what I thought was going to take place this week was market was going to tap into the FVG, right, and literally fly all the way down to close below this weekly low over here. And that too did not happen. What we did get was we had a close above the weekly highs, right? So the concept that I normally break out in regards to weekly lows and weekly highs, right, it is super important, and it does take a bit of work before you're even able to master it. But if you're able to master it, it's going to serve you very well in your trading career. So for example, the weekly low didn't get taken out. So let's just say, right, so this video is going to be targeted at those individuals that had sales on week commencing Monday the 30th of September. So if you had a sell in this area, right, during last week, and he held it up until week just gone, which is Monday the 7th of October, okay, right, you had to make a decision. And one of the key things that I mentioned was the safest place to put your stop because of this FVG would have been up here, right? So, and had you have done that, okay, or say you put in a pending buy order, right, you could have gotten these small little gains on the top side based on how market moved and how market behaved, right? And this is just simply using weekly lows, and weekly highs, right? This concept is really effective. It does work, but however, it does require a lot of work to make it work. It's just not a plug and play system, but it really does work. So with all of that covered now, we're just going to get into the business of what we need to be looking out for week commencing Monday the 14th of October, right? So first I'm going to move this vertical line over. Okay, drop that right here, lock that in place. And then we're going to get rid of these levels because we don't need them anymore. Let's get rid of all of these. Right, let's get rid of this level as well. Let's get rid of this level as well. Okay, so as it stands, this is what we got going on right now. And it looks like that level that I talked about in the previous video of market heading up to this zone up here, it looks like that's still looking very promising. Okay, so let's just see how, let's just watch this space to see what market does. But it looks like it's on its way up there. It could collapse next week, but we'll see how it all goes, right? So where we are right now is market has currently come in and tapped into this weekly high level, as we can see. So that's it right here, the high point right here in corresponding to this level over here. So we can see this is where it's at right now, okay, if it's going to close above it, right? Because these levels, if they are taken out, it still has a level of significance to us, right? And one of the things that we can turn around and say is that it's fair to assume that this pullback that it did from Tuesday the 1st of October to say the same day, which is Tuesday the 1st of October, so on that day where it went from where he gave us a weekly high and he gave us a weekly low on that same day, right? Price is returning from that level, so price is turning around from this zone. So it looks like this is the lowest point that we might see for this month, in my opinion, right? Why do I say that? Because we have a new weekly low that's higher than the previous weekly low, and that's this over here. And then we have a weekly high that's higher than the previous weekly high, and that's that right here. So in my opinion, there is a probability that price is going to be making its way up to this zone right now, okay? But we need to prepare for Monday the 14th. And Monday the 14th is the same rules that we've been applying throughout this whole video series of weekly lows and weekly highs. Right? Which is, we're waiting for one of these levels to be taken out. Right, if one of these levels is taken out, we're looking for positions in the corresponding direction. Now, another thing as well that you need to add as well to your trading style is that sometimes this system will let you down. It let you down here, right? We let you down here, okay, right? And it came true last week Wednesday, in terms of it took out a weekly high and kept pushing up, came back to the weekly high again, and then pushed back up, came back to the weekly high again, and then pushed back up, and now it is where it is, right? So this stuff really does work. It really does work. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it does. That's why I'm sticking by it. Like, literally, it really does work. But however, this is where risk management comes in. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful how you basically do everything when you're doing it in the market. Risk management, it is super important. Okay, so with that little rant out the way, let me just put in the levels that we need to be mindful of. So on the low side, we're looking at 19728.9, and on the high side, we're looking at 20344.2. Right, if any of these levels are taken out, we're looking for moves in a corresponding direction. If the weekly high is taken out, we're looking for buys. If the weekly low is taken out, we're looking for sales. Okay, in most cases it works out, but sometimes it will give you the okie doke. So you got to be prepared as to how you do everything. And one of the key things that you want to be mindful of when the weekly low or weekly high is taken out, what is happening on that level. So let's just use this area as an example. Right, let's use this area as an example just to help us troubleshoot. Right, so this was the weekly low, it was taken out, okay, but then what happened was we had a bit of a consolidation. Market went sideways for a little while on that level. All right, so you seeing that, you would have had to make a decision as to what you wanted to do, if you're going to hold on to it or if you're going to let it go. Right, but however, when you're seeing massive build up, right, on the level of the weekly low or the weekly high, you do want to exercise a certain degree of caution. And sometimes, depending on how you got in, you might need to sit on that one for a little while. Okay, but however, if you say, for example, you took a trade last week, I mean, not last week, but the week prior to that, you did the sell, right? You're locked in and market is kind of moving against you, right? You would have had to you would need to make a decision as to if you was going to stay in that market or if you was going to hop out, right? And the most sensible location for where you could have put a stop would have been above or on the weekly high, right? Now, depending on the level of size that you've put in, that might actually be a bad idea in terms of holding it to get to that level, because it's really not doing what you want it to do down here anyways, so why incur more damages? Hence why I always say I leave it to you to decide what is right for you and what is wrong for you. But ultimately, this situation or these levels that I talk about, weekly lows and weekly highs, it is there as a guide to help you, but it's not a bulletproof system. It's not a system that is guaranteed to work every single time, but it works more often than it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So for example, a clean break like what we got over here, it's the kind of moves that you want when the weekly high is taken out or weekly low is taken out. A nice clean break, parabolic, that pushes all the way through it. It's the kind of moves that you want to see, right? A move like this, as you can see, we didn't really get a clean break, and the break that we got was, say, a doji, and I can't really remember what this candle here is called, but I know this one here is a doji, right? So you got a doji. So let me just put a little sign here just to make it easier for us to see. Okay, so when market closed below the weekly low, this is what we got, right? There wasn't any strong closes that went through it, and that there should have been an indicator to say, wait, let me just wait and see what happens. Let me just wait and see what takes place, if that makes sense. Because it's only with these things, it's only by being in the market for an extended period of time will you really begin to understand when certain things appear, it might appear at a wrong location. So for example, weekly low was taken out, but how the weekly low was taken out was not right. So let's just wait and see what it does. We then get a close, another close below, which is looking kind of weak. And then the third close moves away from it. At this point, you can say, okay, I could take a sell up here, which is right in between the FVG of this zone, to ride it downwards, right? You could do that. But bottom line is, when these things are happening in real time, it is super hard to make the right decision. Hence why I come on here to do what I do and talk to you about what it is that I see and how I see it, just to help you guys get through it all and understand that this thing is it's fairly straightforward to understand, but extremely difficult to execute. And this is the issue that we all have as traders in this space. So to help you on that journey, you'll find two videos. One of them is going to be on back testing, right? A whole bunch of ways I used to trade before that helped me get to this level, right? And the other is going to be on the previous videos. So make sure you check them out, and I'll see you in the next one.